Hey there. I'm Brianna Bowling, and I am the founder of Retreat and Learn. If you want to know more about hosting a retreat for your company or your team at our farm overlooking the Potomac River near Washington, D.C., you can visit us at retreatandlearn.com. And of course, I'm asking everyone to subscribe and follow our page so you can see other informative interviews. And I also do these cool Tuesday morning sunrise videos if you want to tune in for those. Today's guest is Reagan. Oh my gosh, I'm going to say your name wrong. You can fix it later in a minute. I was going to say it wrong and you're going to yell at me. She was our Retreat and Learn's winter intern. Reagan is a student at Goucher College, the same school I graduated from, and is planning on a career in marketing. Both of us learned so much from each other during her internship, and so we thought it would be a good idea to share what we learned so other interns and companies can have that same great experience. Before we get started, I want to note that if you have a question, it's super easy to ask. All you have to do is post it in the comments, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook, and we're going to address it while we're live. There will be a replay. You can post it in the comments, and we'll try to answer those as well. So with that said, I'm going to bring Reagan in. Welcome, Reagan.
Hi.
All right, say your last name. I thought I had it, and then I didn't all of a sudden.
It's Bashard.
Bashard. I knew I was going to say it wrong. So thank you for fixing that for me. Yeah, this is definitely live. It's definitely what it is. I will make mistakes. I'm sure Reagan will too, but we're going to have a good time. We're going to share what we learned. And this is what made it such a great intern experience, is that we did have a good time. We had a fun time going through things and learning things together. So was this your very first internship?
Yeah, it was. I haven't done anything else before this.
Okay. So I'm assuming that when you got word that you were going to be my intern, you probably had certain expectations like, oh, this is what's going to happen. This is how it's going to go. So what were those expectations? And then how did it actually play out compared to your expectations?
So I didn't really have a lot of expectation. I was kind of unsure because I've had my other friends do internships and they all were vastly different. So I
Mm,
was kind of unsure and I was really nervous at first because I didn't know what I was gonna be doing, really.
okay. And so then how did it, like when it actually started, then how was it in comparison to your expectations? I guess you didn't really know, so you were really not real
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, I wasn't really sure, but when we started, actually working together and I started doing things, I was, relieved because I was scared that it
Good.
was gonna be very, rigid in the way of what I
Mm.
do, but there was a lot of freedom and I had a lot of say in what I felt passionate about doing, and that made it easier.
So actually, you bring up a really good point. So one of the things that we did that I think for me was very helpful, and I hope it was for you as well, is that we started the internship with what I call a pre-internship interview. And we talked a little bit. I remember asking you, what is it that makes you passionate? Like, what's the things that really get you excited, the things that you want to do? And it was funny because at first you wanted to give me the answer that you thought I wanted to hear. And I was like, no, 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 no. I actually want to know for real what you want. Like, what is it that really gets you excited? And then we kind of designed the internship around what you answered. So, how helpful was that to you from your side of the table?
The initial, meeting that we had before we actually got into work really, showed me that I had a lot of freedom in this internship, and then I had wiggle room, for example, I wanted to do more of the Canvas stuff at first, and there was the idea or the, option to go into, the blogs or the articles, and I told myself, I was like, "No, I do not wanna write it all, I wanna do more artistic stuff," but then when it came down to it and I kind of played around with both of it, I ended up liking the blogs more.
All right. Now that's pretty interesting because most people hate writing. Writing is like almost as bad as public speaking, which congratulations to you for doing this today as
Thank you.
well. Yay! And so why do you think you found the blog so interesting, or why did you actually end up liking them more than you thought?
So, I've only really done writing for school, where there was very, rigid rubrics that I had to follow, and it was hard for me to put my own personality into school writing, but for
Mm.
the blogs, it was very much so it was my personality that was taking away the blog, that was writing the blog, like, I could really put myself into my work instead of writing a research essay that I can't use, like, I statements or, like, any of that more informal personal talk.
Ah, that's good. You know, one of the things that I found to me that was beneficial was that you could put your personality in there. And it was one of the things that I encouraged you to do. And at first you weren't doing it. And I was like, no, really talk about what it is that it means to you. You wrote a blog on how to maximize your space and how to make it so that it's personal to your workspace so that you can maximize your success, which we'll be publishing next week, by the way. So take a look at that. Um, and I said, talk about it, how it relates to you as a college student. And so for me, it was very beneficial because I can write as an older woman. I can't write as somebody who's in college. And so that was a perspective that you could bring to it. So I can, from the side of the company, to reach out to your interns and actually ask them their opinions and their thoughts is immensely beneficial. We want to actually impart knowledge to them, but also what they can give to us is equally beneficial. So I thank you for that. And your blogs were really much better once you were able to put yourself into that. So that was good.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a little tricky at first because, like I said, I only have done writing for classes.
Hmm.
So it was kind of like I was like, "Oh, I'm definitely putting my personality into it," and then we, like, workshopped it a little bit, and I was like, "Yeah, that has nothing to do with my personality." And so I feel like once I practice it, like, once we reworked the first one, it was easier for me to do it,
Yes,
and it was rewarding because then I can, like, read it and I can be like, "Yeah, that sounds like me talking."
it did. Yeah, it was your conversation and your input. So it was great. So if you could kind of go back in time, what were the things that in your internship that were the most beneficial, the things that you liked the most about your internship?
I mean, I would say that there's, like, different aspects to it. On the work level side, I feel like I kind of stepped out of my comfort zone and I've tried new things. So, like, for example, on Canva, I learned how to do, like, a design palette with the colors and also the fonts. I never have done that before.
Mm.
Um, Also, just personally, I feel like I've grown as well as putting myself in a more uncomfortable situation. Like I said, the writing, like, I did not want to do that at all, like, whatsoever in the beginning, but I pushed myself and I was like, "I'll try one," and then it turned out that was, like, my favorite thing, so I feel like overall, just trying new things and being uncomfortable at first, and then realizing I actually really enjoy it was one of the biggest takeaways.
So that's a really great point. And I think as interns are watching this or people who are potentially thinking of doing an internship, is to take risks, to do something that maybe is pushing your boundaries, that isn't that comfortable to you, because that's where you're going to get the most amount of learning. So that's really great insight. So also looking back, and I said that we were also going to talk about the things that did not work. And we talked a lot about giving and receiving constructive criticism. We're going to get to that in a minute too. But I'm asking you right now for constructive criticism on what I could have done to make the internship more enjoyable or more um, fruitful for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was out of both of our control, but I feel like if we had more time, I could have went into depth more, especially with the writing. Um, I don't know, it's kind of hard to say because I think I had a really good internship experience. I think it's just like the time and also maybe being remote. I feel like it could have been cool if I would have been able to come to the property and like experience how you do
Mhm.
things there because then it would make me have more of a perspective of what you're doing. But besides that, I think it went pretty well.
Yeah, I did too. It was really good for me too. I'd love to have you come down sometime. We maybe when we're doing one of our writers workshops, that would be a great time
Mhm.
for you to come down and expand upon that writing ability.
Mhm.
That'd be fun, and so that you could see the property. And also, so do you think it would be beneficial? And this is kind of, kind of thinking through in terms of making all internships a little bit more beneficial, is that once you've done one internship, do you think it'd be beneficial to repeat an internship with that same company?
I strongly agree that it would be beneficial, not only for, like, personal connection reasons, but also like diving deeper into what you've already done. So, for example, if I were to intern with you again, I would be able to have like the past knowledge of writing the blogs the way that I did it with you. And
Hmm.
then I would have more time to go back and make them better and make more. Same with the Canva posts.
Okay.
Also, and if I didn't even want to do that anymore, there's plenty of other things that I could have been doing or could be doing for you and your company that I feel like could be beneficial for both of us, and also in the way that our connection and our relationship, I feel like, would grow deeper because we would have more time and we would have the past experiences. And then also we can watch each other grow from what we started from because people do grow in a month, like the month that we had together, barely a month. But I feel like it would be really cool to see a relationship over time, like a longer period of time.
Right. No, I agree. And I think one of the things is that you got to see it is so we had one idea when we first started the internship. We're going to do this, this, and this. And then it changed, right? Mostly because you start to see other things like, oh, I can't remember. I think the style guide came up. That wasn't originally on the concept, but you took a look at my website and you were like, your Facebooks aren't really cohesive. I think we need a style guide. Come on, let's get this done. And so because you got to understand our company, you started seeing some problems that you could fix. And that I think that would continually evolve. So we said we were going to talk a little bit about constructive criticism. Before I do that, I do want to remind you that if you have any questions at all, you definitely can just ask them in the comments, and it can be something simple. We love to get some questions, right? I mean, it's way more fun if our audience is coming in here with us. So if you have any questions, just post them in the comments, and I will definitely make sure we get them answered while we're talking for myself or Reagan, either one of us. So digging into constructive criticism, it's something we've talked about.
Yeah.
And I think maybe it was the Facebook page, or maybe it was something else that you brought up to me that, hey, I don't like how this is happening. And I do remember recognizing that this was an uncomfortable thing for you to do. Do you remember that day?
Yeah, I think it was the first time we officially met before, like, the pre-thing. I
Hmm.
think you were like, "Take a look at my website and, like, come up with some ideas," and I was like, "Oh, no, 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 like, I don't wanna correct her, like, this is her website," and I didn't really know you that much then, and I was like, "This is the first thing I'm doing." I was a little nervous.
So did you get more comfortable with that over time?
Yeah, I feel like definitely, like, as our, like, relationship grew a little bit and we, like, were giving each other constructive criticism, it was more comfortable, and also we kind of went over on how to receive it and how to give it, and I think that really helped me. Yeah, I think it got better over time, though.
Yeah, I think that's part of it is that I gave you some tools that would actually help you understand that constructive criticism is a gift, right? And
Mhm.
it should be received and given in that way. And I think practicing it, right? Like practicing you giving me constructive criticism and then seeing how it was received probably made you more comfortable giving it.
Yeah.
And you got better at it too. I mean, you got better about saying, hey, these are the things I like, but these are some things that could be improved. And
Mhm.
so that definitely evolved over time. I also began to trust you. Like, kind of constructive criticism is one of those things that evolves over time. I started trusting your answers and going, you know what? Reagan's got some ideas. These are actually things I should listen to. So that helped.
Mhm.
So, I had some more questions. Let's see. What was the other one? All right. So I did get a question from somebody about artifacts. I got this earlier today, and how important artifacts are to going forward, in terms of, that having an artifact, and maybe you can explain what an artifact is and how important they are to an internship experience.
So I think an artifact is anything of your own work or anything that you've participated in that you can show to others. So, for example, if I'm like scrolling on LinkedIn, a lot of people post things that they've done and you get like more views on your website and then you get more connections. And so it's kind of like showing off your work. Like I did this and I'm proud of it. And I want you to realize that I can do things like this and I'm proud of it, and I think you should look at it because it's really cool.
So how important do you think is that at the end of an internship, you actually have physical artifacts to show?
I think it's very important. If you don't have anything to show for your internship, I don't think it's a good internship because you're supposed to be able to take what you've done and show others, future employers, or like anyone that you know, or people maybe you don't know, and show them, be like, hey, I did this during my internship and I'm really proud of it. So I think if you don't even have one artifact from your internship that you can show for or talk about, I don't think it's a good experience for you because you don't have anything to show, like, all of your work. I think it's very important.
Yeah, it's one of those things. If you ever came to a writer's workshop, one of the things we talk about is show, not tell. So you
Mhm.
can say, yes, I am very good at creating style guides, but it's much better to show it and say, hey, here's my style guide. And they go, wow, yeah, Reagan's
Yeah.
good at that. That's way more effective.
Mhm.
So, yeah. And I think you had a decent number of artifacts. Can you talk a little bit about some of the artifacts that you finished with?
Yeah, so I don't know the exact number, but I have a few posters that were posted on the Facebook, and then I have
Can you
2
explain what a
articles.
poster is?
Oh, yeah, so
Because we had a
I call
conversation about this, and maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
about a conversation about it?
Sure.
Okay,
Set me straight.
so okay. So, originally, I was told that the posts on Facebook were memes, and that's not what I know a meme, and I was really, like, confused at first, and then I emailed and I was like, I don't know if you, like, want me to make something funny because that's what I think a meme is, or if you want, like, a poster," and it turned out to be, like, a poster or, like, a graphic.
Right.
So, that's
Which
what
was a
I did.
generational thing because I think people my age just call them all memes. If it's a square thing on Facebook, it's a meme, right? And so
Yeah.
understanding that generational gap was pretty important to me to know that. So that was great.
Mhm. Yeah, so basically what I did, besides like the ones that I made for my own articles that I wrote, I went through the website and I was looking through the numerous articles and I was grabbing ones that I thought were really interesting and I remade a poster for it. So I took what I thought was the most important concepts. I was playing the video while I was doing it, used the style guide, and put it all together in Canva, and yeah, I posted it. Or I
So
made
yes,
it.
yeah, so you had those posters, you made a style guide, you wrote 2 blogs, which by the way, one of the blogs that Reagan wrote is about how to get to maximize your internship experience. And we're gonna be publishing that today, I think at 4 o'clock. So stay tuned to that. You get some little bullets on you can look back to later. It's on my website, retreatandlearn.com. So we do actually have a couple questions. I want to show them so you can um, answer them. So Amy wants to know, what did each of you learn that you'll use in your lives? Not work related, but human stuff. And hey. So we'll start with you, Reagan. What did you learn that was human related, not necessarily related to work? And
There was a lot of things that I've learned. So, like earlier, I mentioned stepping out of my comfort zone, but I think I learned a lot about having like a relationship with someone who's, like, in charge of you, if that makes sense, because I feel like
Mhm.
there's a lot of stigma, especially, like, with kids around, like, my age and, like, their bosses that, like, their boss is supposed to be scary, their boss is supposed to be, like, not you're not supposed to be able to, like, talk to your boss about everything, but, like, it made me realize that if I am working for someone that I'm not comfortable with, I don't think that I'm in the right place, you know, because we've had a lot of conversations that were outside of what we were doing. Like,
Mhm.
I learned a lot about myself in this whole internship, and then the most important part, in my opinion, is when we did um, what is it called?
Yeah, it was
The
the answer test.
personality.
Yeah, we did a personality.
Yeah. So that just, like, made me realize a lot about myself and my relationships that I have. And it was, like, kind of eye-opening, and it kind of made a lot of things click, and then I also got a lot of, like, ways to talk to other people that I know that were in different, like, categories as me.
And so to be clear, so the personality test that we did was near the beginning, and it's one of the classes that I teach. And And the point of it is actually to not necessarily learn much about yourself, but it's really to learn about how you communicate with other people on your team. And so certain people have different personalities and you can't change who they are, but you certainly can change how you react and how you ask for information from them. And so that's the point of that little quiz that we did. And it was helpful. It was helpful for me to understand where you were coming from. We actually ended up that we were pretty much the same person, which is maybe not a great thing to have on the team long term, but it was great anyway. So
Mhm. Yeah.
and what I learned, I think, in terms of like work, not work related, but human related, is that how much and I guess I knew this already in lots of ways, but I really love working with people in different age groups, and also just different in any way. I think that anytime that we find the commonalities between people who on the outside look different, whether that's race, whether that's age, whether that's sex, whatever it happens to be, we're going to get a different perspective that can help us in our lives. And so that was really very beneficial to me. All right, we got a couple more questions. Sage wants to know, how has this internship experience altered your idea of what your future career will look like?
Hmm. Okay, so I didn't really I still haven't 100% decided what I wanna do, but I know I wanna do something in, like, marketing and showcasing others, like, companies or their ideas, and I think just having practice with it, like, making the posts and doing the blogs, it really made me realize that, like, I like this. I like the artistry behind it, and I like the communication behind it, um so it definitely is a positive experience. I don't know, like, 100% what I'm gonna do, but this whole, this part of marketing, there's a positive correlation in my head. So I don't know if it altered anything, like, fully, but, like, it's a positive experience, not a negative one. So, like, I'm not gonna shun stuff like this. Like, I'll be, like, open to it, but I'm not 100% sure.
But, I don't know that you want me to bring this up or not, but one of the things that did happen during the internship is we talked a lot about the business side of things and how, marketing isn't just making memes or posters, whatever we're going to call. There's a whole lot more to it. And I don't know if you want to mention this, but you kind of changed the class structure that you're going to be taking for the rest of your career in Goucher
Yeah,
because
so
of the
I'm
internship.
a sociology, anthropology major, and I actually made myself a business minor as well. So, hopefully, that will help me out.
I think it will.
There's a few marketing classes, so I'm actually looking forward to that.
Yeah. And I think that's great that you pushed yourself outside of your regular comfort boundary to do a little bit more. And so I think you're really thinking about your future past the walls of Goucher and what you're going to do and how you can use Goucher to prepare yourself for that in the best way possible. So, congratulations to you on
Thank
that.
you.
Well done. So, speaking of Goucher, we actually have a question from the CEO of Goucher. So if you were to restart this experience, not a second internship, but actually like go back in time to the beginning of this internship, what would each of us do differently? That's a
Do
hard
you want me to
question.
go first?
Sure, if you want to, because I don't know the answer yet.
Okay. I think if I were to, like, start over, go back in time, I would not, like, shun the idea of writing right away. I would have tried to have more of an open mind about it because, like I said, once I started it, I was like, "I actually really enjoy this." So, I think just being more open-minded about trying new things initially instead of kind of being scared about it and, like, kinda putting it off until I'm like, "Okay, maybe I wanna try it." So, like, I
Mhm.
think just initially being more open-minded to trying new things.
I think that's great. So, one of the things I think was the most beneficial part of this internship and the experience itself was that internship interview that we did, right? And I don't think that you maybe understood completely why we were doing it or where I was trying to get with that when we first started. So I think maybe having almost like a written, uh, just like a bulleted list that I could send out to the intern before saying, hey, this is what we're doing, and this is the purpose of that pre internship interview. And here's the potential results of that. And maybe even now that we have this great interview, showing them this interview to show them, like, hey, here's all the possibilities of an internship, and here's where we can go with it. Almost, I think the more excited an intern is when they start the experience, the more they're going to get out of it. But the really, I mean, as a selfish reason, the more I'm going to get out of it, right?
Yeah.
I think your internship was supposed to be what, 25 hours?
Yeah.
I guarantee you did more than 25 hours just because you were having fun, right? There's no way
Yeah.
you got a ton done. And I don't know that we tracked the hours. We just had a great time doing it. And so I think the more excited your intern is, the better experience it's going to be for both of you. And so almost marketing the internship itself is probably a good idea.
I think that's a good idea.
So thanks for starting the marketing process here for me. So I think that's all our questions that we have right now. If you have any more, you have just a couple more minutes to get them in, and then we're going to finish things up. Let me make sure that we have, I do have a question that I came up with that I was just kind of interested to know. One of the things when we were talking about, like, where you're going to end up one day is that I think that you're going to be an entrepreneur. I just think that that's where you're going, right? You have the entrepreneur, I guess, spirit. And so fast forward to one day when you are running your own very successful, highly wonderful marketing company, because I can see it happening. It's going to happen one day, right? So when this occurs and you are creating your own internship and you have some interns coming in from Goucher, how would you design their experience, or what are some things that you would do for them?
I think I would do it like somewhat similar to how you did it, like not have a very strict schedule because I feel like if it's very like almost too structured, it's not fun. There's no way to like weave in your own creativity. So I feel like I would have it kind of open ending, like what you get done, what you get done. Like, of course, we had due dates along the way, but like not scaring them initially with a like at the end you should have this. Like I feel like that would scare them. So kind of being more like relaxed in due dates and I don't want to like pressure them because I don't feel like people do well or some people don't do well under huge amounts of pressure. So having it open-ended sort of in a way, giving them room to be creative, giving them room to make mistakes, obviously learn from it. And also just kind of like I did, have a lot to show for their work. I think that's the most important part of an internship and make connections. But like I would make sure that I want to my intern to have work to show for the internship.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's what we did at the beginning is we came up with what we were going to do. And you almost created your own due dates. I think the due dates are important, but maybe intern generated. And I have found that if you ask the intern to create their own due dates, sometimes they're more stringent than you were going to come up with anyways. So they're a little harder on themselves than you would be. So that always works out. So we also checked in frequently. I think that's also something we didn't talk about, but that was really important that we had set times that we met each week at least, and sometimes more often, to give you feedback and for me to get some information from you as well. So that was really very beneficial as well.
Also, besides just the meeting dates, I feel like we both did a really good job of communicating, like through email.
Hmm.
Like on the days that we didn't meet, if I had like a quick question or you had something to like share with me, like, hey, I'm gonna post this, it's a quick email because then I'm not like scrolling on Facebook and I'm like, oh, my thing was posted. Like there was an open line of communication
Right.
and that made me feel more comfortable because it wasn't just like, oh, we only talk during that like once or twice a week meeting. Like I always felt like there was open communication and if I did email you, it was a timely manner that I got a response. So I didn't ever feel like I was like pushed aside, like intern to the side. Like I always felt like I was integrated and like in the loop on what was happening. And I think that was very helpful.
Yeah, that's great. So, as somebody who's potentially going to have an internship, if you're watching this, you're probably going, okay, this is great. It worked great for them. But I go into this internship and it's not working great. It's not such a great experience. And so, as somebody who's sitting on the company side of things, I just want to give you some insight on maybe what might work for you. One of them is you might want to show them this video, right? Show them how excited this was and how much I got from this internship experience because we had this open collaborative environment. And so just showing them rather than telling them might be beneficial. And having that open line of communication, it's the company's job to set expectations. It's also the intern's job to set expectations from the beginning, what they expect to get from it for the time that they're putting into it. So having an open and honest conversation is always good as well before it becomes a problem. So those are some things that I recommend if things aren't working really great. Going forward, one of the things that is important to me as a mentor and an internee, I don't know what you want to call the person who's on the other side of the internship, is that we have an ongoing relationship. And so one of the things that I've done going forward is always making sure that, we're connected via LinkedIn. Interns that I had a couple years ago, we still stay in touch. I congratulate them on their successes. I've written reference letters. I've been referrals for them as well. And so asking your person that you're doing the internship with to do that for you is probably as important as well. I did write a reference letter for Reagan. She wrote one for me on LinkedIn. It's great. So that's pretty important too. Having that ongoing relationship after the internship it makes it a great one. So anything you want to add, Reagan?
No, I'm just like very happy on how this internship turned out. And I'm really happy that I applied for this one and I got it because I think that I had a really good experience. And I hope all of my internships turn out this well because I am so happy and I had expectations and the results were better than my expectations.
Yay. Well, I am really glad to hear that. It was also equally as beneficial to me, so I really appreciate that as well. So, all right, well, thanks everybody for joining, and I hope this was beneficial to you in terms of understanding how you can maximize the internship experience both for yourself and for your intern, and how your interns can get the most from their internship experience as well. Again, if you want more information about Retreat and Learn, you can find us at retreatandlearn.com. And hopefully you tune in for some other future interviews and workshops and retreats that we're having at Retreat and Learn. So thanks very much, Reagan, and we will talk to everybody soon. Thanks.